location of this. This is not in Moscow itself, it's near to the capital, is that right?
Yes, it is near to the capital. Well, I mean, people who live in London may probably understand the analogy of this M25, which is encircled the capital. This is a big circle road which encircles Moscow, and this is a concert hall which is near that road. But nevertheless, this is where big concert halls are often located, and again, this was the place where at this moment was a concert of one of the musical groups, and again, according to some of the reports, up to 100 people could have been inside the building at the moment when all this occurred.
Greg, thanks very much for the latest. Worth just recapping, because we are hearing those reports of an explosion, 3 people in camouflage opening fire. We're hearing reports of dead and wounded and a large fire at this building near to Moscow. More on that here in the coming minutes on BBC News. Thanks for watching and see you next time.
Hello. Cold air has been racing its way southwards across the UK. A very different feel to the weather as we end the week and head into the start of the weekend. For Saturday, we can expect that cold winds to continue to blow. There'll be some really heavy showers, and some of those showers will be wintry over high ground in the north. Now, on the earlier satellite picture, you can see this stripe of cloud. A cold front that pushed its way southeastwards during today brought some rain with it. Behind it, a mix of clear spells and these speckled shower clouds, all brought in by an area of low pressure passing to the north of the UK. So through the night, we will see lots of showers, some wintry showers, even down to, say, 200 or 300 metres above sea level across parts of Scotland. Some snow in the showers over the highest ground of northern England and Northern Ireland. Temperatures getting pretty close to freezing despite that brisk wind, so there could be some icy stretches on untreated roads, particularly out in the countryside across the northern half of the UK. For tomorrow, our area of low pressure is still with us. Lots of isobars around that low. That shows that it will be a widely windy day, a mix of sunny spells and showers, but the showers will be heavy, perhaps thundery, tending to join together, I think, into a line of cloud and showery rain pushing its way southwards through the day, and still some wintriness in the showers across Scotland, although the snow level coming up as the day wears on. Gusts of 40, 50 miles per hour or more around northern and western coast. So on the thermometer, 9 or 10 degrees, temperatures down on where they have been, but when we factor in the wind chill, these are the feels like temperatures. This is what it'll feel like out there, 5 or 6 degrees. Now, as we move through Saturday nights, the winds will actually slowly start to ease a little bit, particularly across western and southern parts. Many of the showers will fade as well. We'll keep some in the northeast of Scotland, where we're closest to this area of low pressure, which will be departing eastwards as we move on into Sunday. Still some strong winds along the east coast through the day on Sunday, still potentially 1 or 2 showers. But for many places, Sunday is going to be a drier and somewhat brighter day, with some spells of hazy sunshine ahead of this weather system, bringing cloud and rain into Northern Ireland later in the day. Temperatures coming up a little bit, 9 to 12, maybe 13 degrees. We head into next week. It does look very unsettled, with showers or longer spells of rain, often fairly windy. Temperatures creeping upwards around 10 to 14 degrees.
The climate of southern Europe is changing. It's becoming more and more like North Africa.
Thousands of people continue to stream across Sudan and South Sudan.
There's riot police everywhere around. This is not the face of France that Emmanuel Macron wants you to see.
We're having to stay under the trees here because Russian drones are constantly patrolling.
This was the town of Bethania. These were people's homes, but look at it now.
This is the moment they've been waiting for. The pride, the excitement, and the affection is palpable.
This is as close as we can get to Gaza itself, about 5 kilometers in that direction. There is a lot of military activity, jets overhead.
17 days they have spent inside that tunnel. Now they are finally out.
At 6, the Princess of Wales has just announced that she is undergoing treatment for cancer. Here now is a very personal message from her, which has just been released, in which she explains what has been happening in recent weeks.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
The Princess of Wales with a very personal message that was filmed on Wednesday in Windsor. Well, our royal correspondent Daniela Ralph is with me now. A huge shock to Catherine, as she says. It's going to be a huge shock to millions of other people as well.
Yeah, that's right. A huge shock, as you say, to the Princess of Wales, and clearly a very deeply upsetting time for her and her family in recent weeks. And what's very clear from hearing from the team around the Prince and Princess today is that this has been entirely driven by trying to protect the children. That has been the focus of the Prince and Princess of Wales in recent weeks. It is why this news has come out today. Today is when Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis break up from school for the Easter holidays, and it was felt that this was the moment to go public because they are now able to protect them as parents, protect their children from the scrutiny and the spotlight that might have been going on had they still been at school. They now have 2 to 3 weeks to spend some time privately as a family, and the Prince and Princess of Wales had wanted to make sure they tell the children properly, appropriately about this diagnosis and give them time to take that in. So that is why it is today that we have found out.
And the tone of her message, I am well, she says in that video. I hope to make a full recovery. I mean, that is very much her tone, isn't it, her message?
Yeah, we are told that the Princess is feeling very positive and is very hopeful of making a full recovery. I think anybody who has just watched that video message, they will see her vulnerability in it and see how difficult things have been for her. But I also think that it's clearly been a very difficult time in terms of speculation and rumour. And that video is Catherine, in her own words, done in her own way. And the hope is that she will now be able to perhaps quell some of that more outlandish rumour and speculation about her condition.
A very difficult time as well for the monarchy, isn't it? The monarchy being all about stability.
That's right. It is a very unstable time for the monarchy and the British royal family at the moment. We're not going to see the Princess of Wales for some time on any kind of normal schedule of public duty. We're also not seeing the King very much either, as he is undergoing his own cancer treatment. So there are two key significant figures from public life missing, and it is very noticeable. But the royal family say that both are doing well. They want to focus on their recovery, having some privacy, and that they will be back in business on royal duty as soon as possible.
Daniela, thank you. And you've been looking back over the last few weeks and the impact that all of this has been having on the royal family. Let's see your report now.
This was the last official footage of the Princess of Wales with the royal family on Christmas Day at Sandringham, with her 3 children who she is now so keen to protect after going public with news of her diagnosis. Back in December, all seemed well as she spoke to the crowd.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you to come and say hello to us. Yeah, well, very happy Christmas.
But 3 weeks later, she was admitted to hospital for major abdominal surgery. It was in her post-operative tests that signs of cancer were found. The clamour for information about the princess's condition has been intense. This footage, published earlier this week, filmed by a member of the public, showed her shopping in Windsor with her husband last weekend. And this photo, released on Mother's Day, to ease some of the public speculation, did the opposite, with the princess issuing a statement to say she had made some edits to the image. A turning point appears to have been this Thanksgiving service in Windsor for King Constantine of Greece at the end of February. The rest of the royal family were there, but the Prince of Wales pulled out that morning, very suddenly, due to a personal matter. We now know this was around the time the princess was diagnosed and began her treatment. It has been an incredibly turbulent time for the family. The couple's priority has been to protect their children and ensure they have time to explain what's wrong to Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. They now hope the speculation and rumours will stop as they spend time privately as a family for the Easter holiday. The princess won't be back to a full programme of public duty for some time. We may see her occasionally, but only when her medical team have approved. For now, the Princess of Wales wants time, space and privacy to deal with her diagnosis and recovery. Daniela Ralph, BBC News.
Well, let's talk to our medical editor, Fergus Walsh. Now, as with King Charles, we are being given very little information about what it exactly is that she's being treated for. But from the few details we have, what more can you tell us?
Okay, well, Sophie, we are not being told what type of cancer this is, nor what stage it was caught at. Now, both of those are crucial factors, and I'm not going to speculate on either of those. But the tone of the Princess of Wales statement is very positive in terms of recovery. What we have been told is that the cancer was found after she had this successful abdominal surgery, and it was discovered once the post-operative tests had been completed and the results had been reviewed. Now, she is now undergoing a course of what she described as preventative chemotherapy. That began late last month. Now, chemotherapy is an umbrella term for any drug treatment to kill cancer. Now, it can either be given to mop up any remaining cancer cells that may remain behind once there's been successful surgery to remove the cancer, or to ensure that the cancer doesn't return in the future. Now, it can be given as an infusion, but increasingly it can be given as tablets, daily tablets, and the treatment for cancer has transformed in recent years. Much of daily tablet treatment can be taken at home. In terms of the future, Catherine is stressing she is well and getting stronger every day.
She's 42 years old. She's only just turned 42. How unusual is it for a woman of her age to be treated for cancer like this?
Cancer touches the lives of every family. 1 in 2 of us will get cancer. Now, it is more common the older we get, but thousands of people every year are diagnosed at a younger age. 1,000 people a day in the UK are given a cancer diagnosis. Now, it is obviously a huge shock, a cancer diagnosis for any family, but 3 million people in the UK are living with cancer. And I think the message at the end, when Catherine urged others affected by cancer not to lose faith or hope, I think that is a key message this evening.
Absolutely. Fergus Walsh, our medical editor, thank you. Well, let's talk to Helena Wilkinson, our correspondent, who is in Windsor, where the family live, and the Easter holidays approaching, and the Princess of Wales making it very clear that the focus very much now for her is on her family at home.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Sophie. The news here in Windsor, a number of tourists outside the castle just starting to hear about the news of the Princess of Wales's cancer diagnosis. It will come as a shock across the world, but also to people who visit this tourist town and also residents here, because as you say, the Princess of Wales and her family, their 3 young children, live here in Windsor at Adelaide Cottage, which is around half a mile from where we live. And that very personal statement from Catherine we've had in the last 10 minutes or so, where she spoke about how they've had to, she and Prince William have had to talk to their 3 young children, George, Charlotte and Louis, in probably very careful words and very well thought out words about her cancer diagnosis, because for young children to hear that their mother has cancer will no doubt be very devastating and probably confusing as well. So what they'll be trying to do as a family is stay very close, of course, and keep very private here at their home in Windsor. They have been able to, on the whole, while Catherine has been recovering from what she has said this evening had been major abdominal surgery, but they will continue, or she will continue, her recovery here in Windsor. As you say, Sophie, the Easter holidays just getting underway for her 3 children, and the family felt like this was the right time to go public with the news, but now they clearly want space for her to continue with the preventative chemotherapy that she has been undertaking, started very recently.
Helena Wilkinson in Windsor, thank you very much. And we will, of course, return to that story later on in the programme. But right now we're going to bring you some more of today's news, some breaking news that's coming out of Russia. And the news agency TASS is reporting that there has been a shooting inside a concert hall near Moscow. Our security correspondent, Gordon Carrera, is with me now. Very early stages here, very early details. What can you tell us?
Well, it is early stages, but it does appear to have been a serious incident at a concert hall in Moscow. Pictures on social media, which we haven't verified yet, but also reports from the scene indicate a number of gunmen, maybe between 3 and 5 in camouflage gear with automatic weapons, went into this concert hall and appear to have started firing. There are scenes of apparent panic, people trying to escape, as we can see from some of these videos, and also here signs of black smoke rising over that concert hall just on the outskirts of Moscow. Talk that there you can see on the inside as well, the concert hall, people were running and hiding, it seems. Possible that those gunmen also threw some kind of incendiary bomb which might have started that fire, and you can hear some of the gunfire and see some of the panic from people at what was going on. Now, we don't know yet who was involved, who was behind this attack. It is worth saying that a couple of weeks ago, the US Embassy in Moscow actually issued a warning to its citizens saying there were concerns, there was some kind of intelligence about extremist attacks, and warning people to avoid crowded places, including concerts. So it may have been that there was some kind of concern about this in recent weeks, about some kind of attack, but as I said, we don't know yet who is behind this or how serious it is, but Russian officials are suggesting there were a number of casualties.
OK, well, as we were saying, it's an ongoing situation, and we will also come back to that as we get it, more information later on in the programme. Gordon, for now, thank you.
Welcome to BBC News. We are going to begin with that breaking story. In the last half hour, Catherine, Princess of Wales, has issued a video message saying that she is undergoing treatment for cancer. In the statement, she says the treatment is preventative and the treatment is in the early stages. She also speaks about the need to inform her own young family about her medical condition before making a more public announcement. We will have full coverage tonight, but first let's play you that video from Catherine, Princess of Wales.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
So that video recorded by the Princess of Wales on Wednesday, issued within the last half hour. Already a lot of reaction, as you would expect. This news coming as a shock right around the world. We've had a statement from Downing Street coming from the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak, tweeting that his thoughts are, he says, with the Princess of Wales, the Prince of Wales and the royal family. He says in particular her 3 children at this difficult time. He also went on to criticise some of the scrutiny that she has faced. You know, we've talked about that in recent days, suggesting she's been unfairly treated by certain sections of the media around the world and on social media. He's now echoed those thoughts made by the Princess of Wales in that video, asking for privacy to focus on her treatment and be with her loving family. The Prime Minister saying he wishes her a full and speedy recovery. Also, reaction from the First Minister of Wales, Vaughan Gethings, tweeting that he is deeply saddened after hearing the news of the Princess of Wales undergoing that treatment for cancer. He said that on behalf of the people across Wales, I'd like to send our love and support to the Princess and her family at this very difficult time. He says our thoughts are with you as you continue your treatment. A response from the White House in Washington, D.C., the spokesperson at the White House saying, we've just heard the terrible news. Our thoughts are with the Princess of Wales and her family members and all friends during this incredibly difficult time. We wish her a full recovery. She also echoes those thoughts. It's important that we respect her privacy, especially at this time. So we'll bring you up to date with all the reaction as we get it throughout the evening. Let's bring in our royal correspondent, Sarah Campbell, who is with me. And Sarah, this coming as a big shock for many, not least, of course, for those watching that statement just within the last half hour.
Yes, so I think it's worth reiterating as well, isn't it, that, yes, the news that has broken just in the last few minutes or so that Catherine, the Princess of Wales, let's go back to January. So she had this abdominal surgery, the major abdominal surgery. We knew about that. At the time, the guidance from the palace was that this was non-cancerous. Obviously, there was a lot of concern about that condition. But what it appears is that the tests at the time, they didn't show cancer, but afterwards it was post-operative tests that found that cancer had been present. And so our understanding is that since late February, the Princess has been undergoing preventative chemotherapy. That's what the phrase that the palace is using is preventative chemotherapy. And the statement really makes clear, doesn't it, that as the Princess shares, this came as a huge shock to her, but William and I, she says, have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. Of course, Prince George, just 10 years old, Charlotte's 8 years old, Prince Louis is just 5 years old. I think it's worth just stressing the timing. People will still be asking lots of questions about this. Why today? Why today? And that is because the 3 children effectively broke up from school today. And the absolute priority of the Prince and Princess of Wales is protecting the children as much as possible. They would know that when this story was released that it would go global, that questions were being asked everywhere, as they have been, haven't they, over the last 6 weeks or so. And so their priority was to be it at a time when they could protect, they could shield the children and just protect them. And so that, I think, explains the timing today.
Yes, an important point. She spoke of that need to process and manage this privately. That's what the statement says, doesn't it? Something, as you allude to there, that has been very difficult to do in recent weeks.
Yeah, almost impossible. I mean, we don't need to go through all the conspiracy theories, but there has, obviously, because she hasn't, as one of the most prominent members of the royal family, probably as one of the most public figures globally, she hasn't been out and about. We knew that she was obviously recuperating from this abdominal surgery, but questions started to be asked. Social media hates a vacuum of information, and so they started to fill in the blanks. And it just became, I hate to use the word ridiculous, but that's exactly what it's become, and cruel and hurtful, some of the things that have been said online. And so I'm sure that the palace, the prince, the princess will be hoping that by coming out, not answering all of the questions, but answering some of the questions, giving some detail, that they can have what they want to have, which is time, it's space, it's privacy.
Yes, and what can we read into the tone of this statement? Because she talks, doesn't she, and you talk about the children there, she says that she's had to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. She sounds very upbeat in this video message.
And I think we have to take from that what we can take from that. We have to look at the statement, look at the fact that she was well enough to sit there and she was filmed, and BBC Studios have released a statement talking about the fact that this wasn't an edited film, and the BBC had no editorial control. This was filmed in Windsor earlier this week, and yeah, as you say, she's talking very clearly to camera. She's talking about the fact, as you say, that she said to her children, I am well, she says, and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Let's not forget that not only is she undergoing preventative chemotherapy, and chemotherapy, as we know, can affect different people in different ways, but she is also recovering from the original major abdominal surgery, which we were told at the time, the period of convalescence would take us at least, we weren't expecting to see her at any royal engagement, certainly before Easter, but that wasn't a definite date at any point. That was the earliest date. So she's had these two things to contend with, and then from a mental perspective, also having to deal with what she, as much as she may want to switch off, it's very hard to switch off when there is such a frenzy of attention around her, and so she's had to deal with that as well.
And as you say, you talked there about those official engagements, last seen in an official capacity on Christmas Day, and since then, as we know, recovering from that original surgery. What have we learned in any of these statements about any possible return to public life?
I think the palace are being very clear to not give any definite returns, for the simple reason that when that maybe doesn't happen, that immediately starts ringing alarm bells. So I don't think we're going to get anything specific. The sense I get from the palace is that the princess wants to get back as soon as possible. She's wanting to recover as soon as possible. And we may start seeing her going to events, but there is no time scale of that. And we shouldn't take that just because she's made an appearance, that means things are back to normal. No, I don't expect that at all. It will be a managed return, but clearly that is the aim, is for her to come back when she can, but it has to be when she is absolutely healthy and ready and feels up to it.
And a brief word, if you will. Prince William, of course, now in a position where his father, King Charles, is undergoing cancer treatment, and now his wife, Catherine, also facing this cancer treatment. She talks again in that message, doesn't she, Catherine, about the support from William, but a very difficult time for him too.
I can't even imagine. Hugely difficult time. As you say, we had that day, didn't we, where in January, where we learned on the same day that the King was having a procedure on an enlarged prostate, and that's when we learned about Catherine, that she had been in hospital and undergone surgery. A couple of weeks later, we then found out about the King's cancer diagnosis, and now, 6 weeks later, we're finding about Catherine, Princess of Wales. On a completely human level, regardless of his status, of the fact that he's the heir to the throne, that he has all this level of responsibility anyway on a completely human level, it must be a hugely difficult time.
Sarah, for now, thank you. I know you're going to stay with us throughout the evening and keep us updated on any reaction. There's also another major story that we're following for you tonight. Reports from Moscow suggesting a number of people have been killed and wounded during a shooting at a concert hall there. Videos posted online also show smoke appearing to emerge from the Crocus concert hall. Now, Russian news agencies say at least 3 people dressed in camouflage opened fire at the venue. In a statement, Moscow's mayor has said a huge tragedy has occurred. There have also been reports that the roof of the theatre building is now on fire. People are still inside that building. Let's get the very latest with our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg, in Moscow. And Steve, evening to you. Just bring us up to date on what we know about what's going on so far.
Well, this is a developing story. It's still going on. This is what we know so far. That earlier this evening, a number of armed men burst into a concert hall in Moscow, the Crocus City Hall, just before a pop concert, and began shooting. The hall was packed with visitors, and mobile phone footage shows scenes of chaos, as you can imagine. You can hear the shots ringing out. Now, there are no official figures yet as to how many people have been killed, but reports of at least 12 people having been killed in this attack. The building is on fire. Possibly a third of the building is on fire, and we believe that dozens of people may still be trapped inside the building. Also reports that a number of the gunmen may have barricaded themselves inside the building. So this is still going on very much, and Russian special forces have been deployed to the scene. Also, 50 ambulances have been called to the scene. So the casualty figures could well rise. As I say, no official figure yet as to how many people have been killed, but already reports suggesting that quite a few people may have been killed in this attack.
Yes, Steve, just a line coming into us here. You may be looking at the same sources that we are, but Russian rescue services saying they've evacuated 100 people from the basement of that building where the shooting and explosions occurred. They say there are still people on the roof, and we're also getting a sense that there are people potentially still inside. And as you were telling us there, if those gunmen have barricaded themselves in there, one assumes this may turn into some sort of hostage situation. As you said, very few details at the moment, but do we know that some people have been able to get out?
Yeah, well, we've seen mobile phone footage of people who did get out, who managed to get out to safety to the car park. So people have got out from the incident. Also reports coming in of another explosion from inside the building. So we don't know what's going on there right now. But obviously, this is a very serious situation. As I said, special forces have been deployed there. The FSB, Russia's domestic security service, also has gone to the scene. Emergency services too. So we'll follow the story through the evening into the night.
Stay with us, just one moment, Steve, stay with us. Further details coming to us now. Reuters reporting more than 70 ambulances at the place of that shooting. We don't know how many people they are able to help there. And very few details, as you said, at this stage, because this is very much an ongoing situation. The latest line there that some people are still on the roof, perhaps hoping they may be able to get out that way. Also a line suggesting that some people, up to 100 people, were evacuated using the underground system in the basement of that building. And Steve, give me a sense, if you will, of what the security services will be doing right now and what they may know about what is happening and what help they may be able to offer.
I would imagine it's quite a chaotic situation, right? This came completely out of the blue. I mean, interesting how a number of armed men were able to get into what is quite a prominent concert hall in Moscow, the Crocus City Hall. You would imagine that there would be tight security there, especially at this time. But obviously, these 5 men were able, if they were 5, were able to get inside. We don't know who they are. We've just seen reports that men in camouflage, armed men in camouflage,
went into the concert hall and began shooting. So, as I say, we don't know who they are, and perhaps more information will come out through the evening about who the attackers actually are, and also about the casualty figures, because, as I say, no official figures now, lots of numbers appearing on social media, which we cannot confirm. But as I say, the fact that 50 ambulances have been called to the scene, that suggests that the authorities fear that the casualty toll could be quite high.
Steve, for now, thank you. We'll let you go and find out further information. Grateful for you joining us so soon after the development of that story. That's Steve Rosenberg, our Russia editor there in Moscow. We'll keep a very close eye on events as they unfold in Moscow. But if you're just joining us, I want to remind you of the other breaking story that we're following this hour. News that the Princess of Wales has announced that she is undergoing treatment for cancer. Her message has been released in the past half hour. She explains what's been happening in recent weeks. Take a listen.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
So that is the video message recorded on Wednesday by Catherine, Princess of Wales, and released within the last half hour, detailing the treatment that she is now undergoing. With me to discuss the implications of what we've learned within the last hour, our royal correspondent Sarah Campbell. Also with us, our health correspondent Catherine Burns, and joining us from Windsor is our correspondent Helena Wilkinson. So let's assess what we know and crucially what we don't know. And Sarah, let me start with you first of all. Coming as a huge shock for so many people to hear that message, but for the family itself, of course.
Yeah, because obviously, Catherine is mother to 3 young children. George just 10, Charlotte is 8, Louis is 5. They were aware of this news, but the timing of this is so that they have finished school today. Today is the last day of school, so they can be away from what inevitably is going to be a huge story around the globe. And I think this is the undercurrent of this whole statement. It's about privacy. It's about being able to protect her family. It's the 3 words that she uses, time and space and privacy, is why this level of detail has been given. Some detail, not all detail, but just the basic facts are that she underwent this major abdominal surgery back in January. That surgery was successful. At the time, it was said that this was that cancer wasn't related, but actually post-operative tests found that cancer had been present, and so subsequently she has started preventative chemotherapy is the phrase that they use. So that is the situation we are. She is taking time to recuperate. Catherine will give us some more detail about the health, what we do know, what we don't know. But there is a level of detail here, but still a lot that we don't know for reasons of privacy, which is perfectly understandable.
There is absolutely so much we don't know. We don't know what kind of cancer this is. We don't know what stage it's at. And we are not going to find these things out, and we are not going to speculate about them because she has that right to privacy. But there are some things that we can think about here. You know, what she is going through right now is something that so many families up and down the UK will be going through. 1 in 2 of us will be affected by cancer at some point in our lifetimes. But most people, about a third of people who have cancer, they tend to be over 75. She's 42. Now, her relatively young age, that will be a positive factor in her recovery here. And recovery, that was the word that really hit out to me in her statement. You know, she says, I am well, I'm getting stronger by the day. I must focus on making a full recovery. The tone was very dignified, but it was positive. It was upbeat there.
Stay with us. Let's bring in Helena Wilkinson, who's in Windsor for us. And Helena, you were listening along to that as we were. And the timing of this, of course, coming at the start of the Easter holidays. And in that statement from Catherine, Princess of Wales, she is very clear about the need to tell her family and to reassure them that she will be OK.
Yes, exactly. And for anyone who has received a cancer diagnosis, it will be devastating, shocking, will need time to digest the news. But also when you've got a young family, as you heard Sarah say there's 3 young children, George, Charlotte and Louis. They have had to, the Princess of Wales and Prince William have had to be very careful and conscious about how they have told the children the news about Catherine's diagnosis. And for children, it must be a very worrying time, a very difficult time, a confusing time as well. So they've had to do that in a very managed and careful way, and have had to do it privately, or wanted to do it privately, away from the cameras, away from all the news that is appearing now following this very public and personal statement this evening in the last half an hour or so from the Princess of Wales, recorded here in Windsor. Of course, Windsor is the family home. This is where Catherine has spent about a month and a half recovering from what she described in that very personal statement this evening as major abdominal surgery. It's where she's been able to recover privately. She was seen, of course, as was well publicised, at a farm shop on Saturday, looking well, with Prince William by her side. But she has been very clear in the statement this evening that as she continues to undergo the preventative chemotherapy for cancer, which is in its early stages in terms of the chemotherapy is in its early stages, she wants to do that in private and with her family by her side. And so that's been made very clear in the statement she's given this evening. But a very, very difficult time for the Princess of Wales, for her immediate family, her young children. There's 3 young children for Prince William, of course, and it comes so soon after the King's cancer diagnosis as well. So the family will be wanting to stay here in Windsor, and for the Princess of Wales to continue that chemotherapy in private and to recover with her family around her.
OK, Helena, for now, thank you. I know you'll stay there in Windsor for us. We'll speak more in just a moment. But with me in the studio here, Catherine Burns, our health correspondent, and Sarah Campbell, our royal correspondent. And there's so much we can talk about. Quite clearly, Catherine, as you said, we're not going to speculate. But this is applicable in so many cases, isn't it? There is an expectation, indeed, in this statement, a request for privacy. We saw this with King Charles undergoing his treatment for cancer, once again repeated that the family want this to be done in private.
I know, you think about this, that families up and down the country, they have this news every day. They don't all have to come out on television and make a statement about it. That must be incredibly difficult. And it's quite noticeable, actually, in the reaction that's come out tonight. The Prime Minister, he used the words tremendous bravery, but says she must be afforded the privacy to get on with her treatment alone with her family. There's a leading oncologist, Professor Pat Price from Catch Up to Cancer campaign, saying, you know, this is a stark and shocking reminder that cancer does not respect age or social status, especially when the family is already dealing with the King's diagnosis. There's a lot going on for this family, and there will be so many people right now watching this feeling a lot of empathy for them, having to do it in the public eye like this.
Yes, and one would hope that this will put an end to a lot of that speculation, because the one thing they have not been granted in recent weeks is the privacy to deal with this on their own, have they, Sarah?
You'd hope so, wouldn't you? And there is a lot of information here to put to bed a lot of the speculation. So certainly that would be the hope that would happen, because it has been extraordinary over the last few weeks. The level of frenzy, I think, is the only word that you can use about it. I mean, she is one of the most high-profile women in the world globally. There is a huge amount of interest, of course, here in the UK, but also particularly in the United States. And the volume of noise on social media has been huge. And the absolute priority, and I reiterate again, the timing of this is purely to protect the family as much as possible, because you just know that the playground chat that would have been, had this news been released any earlier, just would have been so unfair on the children. So it's worth reiterating again. I think the reason why this has been said when it's been said is purely about protecting the family. And, you know, over the Easter holidays, don't expect to see any of them, because they will be together. They will be dealing with this as a family privately.
Yes, and you speak of the interest in the United States. I just want to bring viewers up to date with the statement we've had from the White House. This coming from the White House spokesperson, saying we've all just heard the terrible news. They go on to say our thoughts are with the Princess of Wales and her family members and friends during this incredibly difficult time. She says we certainly wish her a full recovery. It is important that we respect their privacy, especially at this time. Once again, underlining that need for privacy. We've also had a statement from the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. He's tweeted that the Princess of Wales has the love and support of the whole country. He says, my thoughts are with the Princess of Wales, the Prince of Wales, the royal family, and in particular her 3 children at this difficult time. Now, the Princess of Wales has the love and support of the whole country as she continues her recovery. She has shown tremendous bravery with her statement today. And Catherine, that's the point you picked up on, isn't it? The message that this will send to other people, young people who will be facing a diagnosis similar to that, perhaps, of the Princess of Wales.
I thought it was really interesting that she ended her video talking directly to other people with cancer, saying, you are not alone, don't lose faith, don't lose hope. And actually the chief exec of the NHS in England, Amanda Pritchard, has come out today saying, I am really sorry to hear this shocking news. She says our thoughts are with the royal family, and says we know how difficult a diagnosis and treatment journey can be for patients and their family. Speaking out about it is really brave, and it can help others to get worrying signs and symptoms checked. And that's always the hope here, because we always know with cancer, the earlier the diagnosis, the better the result is going to be. And let's boil this down to the facts. We know that she's had this major abdominal surgery. We know that was a success, and we know that cancer had been found. We don't know much about the actual cancer, but overall, we can say that overall cancer survival rates over the last 50 years have doubled.
Yes, and that's a reassuring message in all of this, isn't it, Sarah?
Absolutely, and the sense I get in the details that have been released is that there is a confidence that the Princess is going to make a full recovery, and I think that comes through from the statement as well. And you were talking about the Amanda Pritchard and her statement in terms of the NHS. I mean, you will remember that when the King's cancer diagnosis was made public, the number of people going to get checks.
There was a spike.
Exactly. Yeah. And so there is, as awful as this news is, as shocking as this news is, there is a positive side about it. And you can see that in the statement that Catherine is putting that out there as well.
I was really struck by the positivity of her, what she said to her children, I am well and feeling stronger every day. She is clearly feeling very strong about this. She's taken her time. You know, her chemotherapy started at the end of February, so she's had some time to recover from her surgery and then to deal with the second part of this, starting chemotherapy. And now her tone is clearly one of positivity. She's saying, I'm well and I'm feeling stronger.
Let's stay exactly with that message. We can speak now to leading oncologist and the chair of the charity Radiotherapy UK with us, Professor Pat Price. Thank you for joining us on the programme, Professor Price. And I'd just like to pick up with that message, the importance of going public with a statement like this, and what good that will do for other people who may be going through a similar situation?
Oh, she is amazing. That was such a beautiful interview. She has done so well, so much she's had to go through with her family and everything now. So it's a positive message, and that sharing it with others, all the people out there who have similarly got problems, they know they're not alone. And hopefully now this will get cancer right at the top of the agenda. 1 in 2 get cancer. She's so brave.
Yes, and I'm sure you've had to tell people terrible news like this in your own career. It is a major trauma, it is a major undertaking, and it is a huge challenge mentally and physically, one would assume. This is an important life moment, but one, certainly if we read into the tone of this message, that she is tackling head on.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think it's about fear of the unknown is the worst thing. It's about sitting with it, coming to terms with it, and then just moving positively on. She's obviously needs some time and space. She's just recovered from surgery. She's then had the shocking news. She thought it was benign and then found out it isn't. Her first thoughts will be her children and then her husband. And then now she's actually got to go through some more treatment, which will be difficult. But we advise patients to just sit with it, come to terms with it, think through it. And for people who are around them, don't be frightened. Don't not say anything. Don't treat people differently almost. Just sometimes sit with them. Just say, I'm there. You can't always make it better, but you can just be with people. And that's her message. And gosh, so brave. And I think as a nation, if we were there all supporting her, that would give her huge strength.
Yes, and at times like this, of course, the focus is on the person undergoing the treatment, but you touched on it there, the impact that this also has on the wider family. And I ask you specifically, of course, too, given that we know King Charles also undergoing treatment for cancer. Therefore, hugely shocking news for the family as a whole. What impact could this have on them?
I think obviously they've got a lot to deal with at the moment, and I think they need to be given time and space. Hopefully, though, if cancer turns out to be okay for people, that often gives people a greater understanding with other people of resetting your priorities, seeing what's important and what's not important. The love you have for your family puts everything in context. So there can be some good things. I know it sounds awful to say, but there can be some really good and positive things to come out of this.
Yes, and also just a word on survival rates and success rates when cancer is caught early and in someone still so young.
Yes, once it's caught early, then that's usually when we can cure things. So that is the best thing. So we would encourage people to present early with symptoms. And hopefully, as this has been caught early, she'll be okay. I hope so.
Professor Pat Price, really grateful for your time this evening. Thank you, leading oncologist and chair of the charity Radiotherapy UK. Grateful for you joining us at such short notice. Thank you. Now, if you are just joining us, we're covering that breaking news this hour that the Princess of Wales has announced that she is undergoing treatment for cancer. Here is her message. It's been released in the past hour, in which she explains what's been happening in recent weeks.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well, and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
So that is the video message that's been released in the last hour. Catherine, Princess of Wales, detailing the treatment she is now undergoing. Let's talk to our health correspondent, Catherine Burns, who's still with me. And Catherine, Kensington Palace calling this a recovery pathway. The important point in that, the recovery element. What do they mean by that?
Well, so it was very interesting there that she said that, you know, the post-operative tests after her successful surgery in January found that cancer had been present. And she's describing this as a recovery pathway, as you say, and talking about preventative chemotherapy. So chemotherapy, that is an umbrella term. It's basically any drug that targets cancer cells in this way. So the hope is, you know, that it could be that cancer has been removed, but we just can't speculate those things. We don't know what kind of cancer it is. We don't know what stage it's at. What we do know is that she is now one of 3 million people in the UK living with cancer. And it was very striking the way she ended that video, saying to other patients who are out there, you are not alone. You know, the fact that she is someone with this status and with the prestige in her life being hit by something so common. And the hope then is that other people who've got symptoms, niggling symptoms that they're ignoring, hopefully they will go, right, I'm coming forward, I'm getting this, because we know that early diagnosis is the best possible way of treating this.
Catherine, thank you for now. Catherine Burns, our health correspondent. Let's bring in Sarah Gristwood now. She is the royal author and commentator. Sarah, good evening to you. Thank you for joining us. So coming as a huge shock, but what do you make of the timing of this announcement?
Well, indeed, there's a very strong personal reason for it, obviously, in terms of the need to protect the children, the beginning of the school holidays. But there is also the fact that there has been, over the last weeks, but particularly days, this really appalling stream of conspiracy theories, a very wild speculation on social media. So I think there must be the hope and expectation that this announcement will at least put an end to that and, of course, produce a great wave of sympathy for the princess and for the family as a whole.
OK, so stay with us, if you will. I just want to bring in our royal correspondent, Sarah Campbell, who's with us. And Sarah, you've got a statement from Buckingham Palace. Just
this is a spokesperson. I think this just brings and underlines the fact that, of course, we have 2 senior members of the royal family who have been coping with a very similar diagnosis over the past few weeks. And so we have this from a Buckingham Palace spokesperson. His Majesty is so proud of Catherine for her courage in speaking as she did, following their time in hospital together, because, of course, they were both in the London clinic at the same time in mid-January. This goes on, His Majesty has remained in the closest contact with his beloved daughter-in-law throughout the past weeks. Both their Majesties will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family through this difficult time. Obviously, His Majesty the King, with his own cancer diagnosis, able to understand in a very personal, acute way exactly what his daughter-in-law is going through.
Yeah, and so rare for 2 senior royals to be out of action in this way. Temporarily. Absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, in families, you know, for 2 close members of family to get a cancer diagnosis at almost exactly the same time. I mean, forget about the fact that it's the royal family. It's a deeply upsetting, worrying time for the royal family. You know, they are grandparents, they are parents, they have 3 young children to think about, and they are having to cope with this, and of course being hugely public figures. So just that Buckingham Palace spokesperson, again, just the reflections from His Majesty, who going through his own cancer diagnosis, his own cancer treatment. His Majesty is so proud of Catherine for her courage in speaking as she did. He's remained in the closest contact with her, and both their Majesties will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family throughout this difficult time.
Sarah, for now, thank you. Let's bring in Sarah Gristwood once again, royal author and commentator. And Sarah, I hope you were able to hear that. And the line that jumped out to me there was King Charles saying he is so proud of Catherine.
Positive way of looking at it, because of course we've been talking about the private story, which is absolutely the most important one, but there is a public story too, that the royal family are facing a really unprecedented crisis with 2 of the foremost senior members out of action at the same time. And this, I think, shows that they are very determined to look forward, to put, if you like, as strong and positive a spin on it as possible. It's not just that they won't be able to be seen in public massively for quite some time. It is that they are going through what a great many people in this country are also going through, and that they are prepared to share the journey.
Sarah Gristwood, thank you for being with us on the programme tonight. It's good to have your insight. Thank you. We'll be back with that story, that developing story for you very shortly. I also want to update you, though, with another breaking story we're following for you tonight. You can see it there on screen. Reports coming into us from Moscow suggesting a number of people have been killed and wounded during a shooting at a concert hall. Videos that have been posted online also show smoke appearing to emerge from the Crocus concert hall. Let's get the very latest with what we know so far. Our security correspondent is Gordon Carrera. Gordon, good to have you with us. This story moving all the time, developing within the last hour or so. What do we know so far about what is happening there right now?
Well, it looks like it has been a major attack on this venue, a concert hall and shopping mall in Moscow. It looks like up to 5 gunmen entered the venue with automatic weapons, began firing. It appears people inside, including in the concert venue. Also, at some point, they seem to have used some kind of incendiary device, and fires started at the venue. People, obviously, in fear for their lives, ran, hid. Some fled to the roof of the venue as well as they tried to escape what was happening, and some have been rescued, but there certainly do appear to have been casualties. No indication yet of who those gunmen were or what their motivation was or what's happened to them, but Moscow has certainly been put on high alert with increased security at airports, railway stations, and also mass gatherings being cancelled as the authorities try and understand what's happened and what might still be happening there as they try and get control of that very difficult situation.
Yeah, Gordon, while we speak, we're looking at some of the images posted online quite clearly. Some of them are very distressing. We're not going to show those, but it gives you a sense of just how big this venue is and a taste perhaps of some of the chaos that unfolded. We're just seeing a line here suggesting that a third of the concert venue is on fire. The roof, according to the Russian TASS news agency, is completely ablaze. It certainly seems this incident is by no means over yet.
No, and it looks like they're still trying to put out that fire. Helicopters there. They're also trying to rescue people. As I said, we're not clear what's happened to those gunmen either. So a rescue operation, also potentially a manhunt to find those responsible, depending on where they are now, and a lot of panic inside that venue, as you'd expect when it happened. It is noticeable that a couple of weeks ago, on March the 7th, actually, the US Embassy in Moscow and the State Department in Washington put out a warning to its citizens about possible attacks by extremists, they said, in Moscow. And they actually mentioned concert venues there. So there may have been some kind of concern in recent weeks. Back then, they talked about it happening within the 48-hour time period, and that was 2 weeks ago. So it may be unconnected, but clearly there may have been it's possible there was some concern about something like this happening. Words of concern from Washington, still no indication about who might have been involved, though, but clearly what does look like to be a serious situation in Moscow.
Gordon, really good to get your analysis at this point. I know you'll keep an eye on that for us throughout the evening. Gordon Carrera there, our security correspondent. We will stay right across that story for you. But also, of course, the other breaking news this hour, news that the Princess of Wales has said she is in the early stages of treatment after cancer was found in tests. In a video statement that was recorded on Wednesday but released today, Catherine's saying it is a huge shock after what has been an incredibly tough couple of months. You are watching BBC News. You're watching BBC News. We're bringing you special coverage of an announcement by the Princess of Wales in which she said she is undergoing preventative care treatment for cancer. Now, it comes after she had stepped back from public life to take time to recover after undergoing abdominal surgery. Catherine says that although it was thought at the time that her condition was non-cancerous, tests have since found that cancer had been present. She is in the early stages of that preventative chemotherapy. Here is her video statement in full.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment, but most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
A very personal note to end that video statement from Catherine, Princess of Wales. That was recorded on Wednesday but released within the last hour. Let's bring in our royal correspondent, Sarah Campbell, who is with me. And Sarah, a very personal statement, personal message from Catherine there. We should also remember, of course, King Charles undergoing his own cancer treatment, and Buckingham Palace has issued a statement within the last few minutes.
They have indeed, yeah. I mean, just a stark reminder, isn't it, that you have two senior members of the family undergoing a very sort of similar process, similar treatment at the moment. So this was the statement from Buckingham Palace, which is saying that the King is so proud of Catherine. The statement says, for her courage in speaking as she did. Of course, they spent time in hospital together. She had her operation on the 16th of January. The King was in the same hospital for this procedure on an enlarged prostate. So they were in at the same time. We knew that they had seen each other inside. So that since then, His Majesty has remained in the closest contact with his beloved daughter-in-law throughout the past weeks. Both their Majesties will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family through this difficult time. Just a reminder there, isn't it, that these are people. Yep. You know, we think of them that they're in this position, but they are fundamentally people. This is a father-in-law, this is a daughter-in-law, and this is the mother of 3 very young children.
Yes, and they faced incredible scrutiny in recent weeks. Lots of speculation about what might be or may not be behind her not being in the public eye. But a reminder too of the power of going public with a statement like this. And certainly after King Charles's statement about his enlarged prostate, we know that spurred a whole number of people to go and get medical checks. One assumes this may be something similar too, that people might be a little bit more aware, certainly about that young people can be vulnerable to cancer, but also that survival rates are very high if caught early enough. But crucially, just being aware that if you're going through a similar situation, we heard at the end of Catherine's message there, you are not alone.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we know, don't we, that 1 in 2 people will be diagnosed with cancer at some point in their life. So it's already currently affecting a great many people. And we've been talking in the last hour or so, the reaction from members of the health community, the leader of the NHS England, making that exact point that actually Catherine coming out, speaking so openly as she has, does make it easier for lots of other people, on whether that is going and having a check, because shocking to think that somebody at the age of 42 could now be going through cancer treatment. But, you know, Catherine is not alone, as she says, that there are people dealing with this on a daily basis. So will this mean more people go and get checked? Certainly healthcare professionals are already coming out and saying this is a positive thing that she is talking about it.
There will quite clearly be a hope here that it will end the weeks of speculation. And from Kensington Palace, some insight into what we know and what we don't know, and what will remain private. Quite clearly, it is a private medical matter. But quite a distinction between what they are prepared to talk about publicly and what will not be discussed publicly.
Yeah, and just to give you some context in terms of how we know, what we know is that the Palace have provided some sort of briefing notes, a Q&A if you like, which happened actually back on beginning of February when the King's cancer diagnosis came out, simply because they don't want to have the wrong information out there and for people to make assumptions. So have made it clear what they will give details about, what they won't give details about. They're not going to give details about what that original abdominal surgery was for. They are not going to be specific about the cancer that was discovered and why she's now having this preventative treatment. There'll be lots of questions that people will be asking, even now, even though we're just processing this diagnosis. People will be asking, you know, when are we going to see the princess? That's what they've been saying for the last 6 weeks, isn't it? Which has led to this sort of vacuum of information, this media, social media frenzy. When will the princess be returning to official duties? And the answer is very clearly the princess will return to official duties when she is cleared to do so by her medical team. But she's in good spirits and she is focused on making a full recovery. So, you know, we have to make the assumption that she is doing what she can to get back, to get out there, to get out there as soon as possible. But that is very clearly on medical advice. And the important thing at the moment is to be with her children, to be with her husband, and to recover.
Yes, and speaking of her husband, in that statement, of course, she says it's taken us time as a family to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis, very young children, in a way that's appropriate for them, and to reassure them I'm going to be okay. And we've discussed this already, but the idea that at a time like this, the focus is on the person undergoing the treatment. But a mention too, of course, for Prince William, in a horrible position with his father facing cancer treatment and now his wife.
And he has been out and about. I mean, clearly they have had this diagnosis. They have known this for some time. We don't know exactly when the diagnosis was given. We know that the date that we have is that she started this preventative chemotherapy at the end of February. You will remember that the social media frenzy, if you like, really went up a notch when there was a memorial for King Constantine of Greece, which Prince William, who was his godson, and pulled out quite near the time of the memorial service he'd been due to give a reading. So that made everything ratchet up. We now understand that, of course, now we know why. Yep. But they couldn't say that at the time. And, you know, Prince William has been out in the past few weeks. He was in Sheffield carrying on his project to try to end homelessness in certain locations across the UK. And he has been going about his engagements. He has been going about trying to sort of carry on. And I think for the next 3 weeks, the Easter holidays, it's now the children are at home, the Easter holidays are at home, and this is now a time for Prince William, for Catherine to be together, to be on their own, to be with their children. Now that this news is out there for everybody across the globe to digest, and really for them to just focus on her recovery at home.
Yes, Sarah, stay with us. There's lots more for us to talk about. I also just want to remind people, if they're seeing there on the side of the screen, that's the other major story we're following for you this hour. News that a shooting is underway, or certainly has been underway. There are very few details at the moment in Moscow. Lots of images on social media. We will talk about that some more in just a moment, but you can see the QR code there if you want further details. The BBC Live page is up and running with what is happening right there. Well, as promised, let's take you straight there. We can speak to Steve Rosenberg, who's our Russia editor. And Steve, we were speaking just a little while ago about what we know so far, but this is very much an ongoing situation in this Moscow concert hall. What can you tell us?
Yeah, very much a developing story. All we know is that this evening, shortly before the start of a rock concert, a number of gunmen stormed into the concert hall, Crocus City Hall, which is near Moscow, quite a prominent concert venue, and began shooting. We don't know yet how many gunmen there were or there are. Some reports say at least 4, 5, possibly more. We don't have any official figures yet about casualties, how many people were killed or injured. There have been all kinds of reports on social media. We do know that 70 ambulances were called to the scene, which gives some idea of the concern that casualty figures could be high after this shooting. And the situation's still continuing. So the latest information is that a number of special force groups have gone into the building, have stormed the building. The building is on fire. Crocus City Hall is on fire. Some reports say there's concern that one of the floors could collapse, and concern that there are still people trapped inside. So this is very much, as you say, an ongoing situation. The Moscow mayor, Sergei Sobyanin, has called this a terrible tragedy. The Russian Foreign Ministry has called it a bloody terrorist attack. All sporting, cultural events, mass public events have been cancelled in Moscow in light of this, and security has been stepped up at airports and train stations, places like that. And some reports suggest that possibly at least one of the gunmen may have escaped and is being looked for now by police. Again, a chaotic situation, not clear exactly what is happening right now. What is clear is that there are going to be a lot of casualties from this, and certainly a shocking incident in Moscow tonight.
Yes, Steve, as you're talking to us there, a line coming to us from the Reuters news agency suggesting that 21 are now dead, but as you said, that number changing all the time. We're also looking at some of the images that have been posted on social media to give us a sense of what that concert hall looks like inside and some of the chaos in the immediate aftermath. There are also a lot of images on social media that we will not show for obvious reasons. They are distressing. But Steve, there will be big questions tonight. Just another line here suggesting that the roof of that concert venue has now collapsed because, as you were telling us, that has been on fire. The Russian TASS news agency saying more than 100 have been injured in this attack. There will be big questions tonight about how this was able to happen in Moscow.
Yeah, absolutely. How was it that armed men were able to get inside a very prominent venue, quite a famous venue, where you would imagine that security would be tight. I mean, that particular concert hall, I think up to 6,000 people can fit in. I don't know how many tickets were sold for this particular concert, but potentially several thousand people could have been inside that hall. So you would have thought that security would be tight, especially considering everything that's going on right now. But they got in and started shooting. And as I say, although we don't know for sure how many people were killed, the actual official casualty figures, it seems as if the death toll is going to be quite high.
Steve, thank you. We'll let you go and find out what further details you can. That's our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg, in Moscow there. As I said, there's a lot of detail, a lot of speculation about what exactly is unfolding there in Moscow on social media. So let's try and make sense of some of it. Merlin Thomas is in the BBC Verify studio. And Merlin, just explain what we know, and crucially right now, one assumes in situations like this, there's a lot we don't know.
Yeah, as you said, this is very much a developing story. So what we know so far is that just before the start of a concert in Crocus City Hall outside Moscow, gunmen burst in and started shooting. Now, there are unconfirmed reports that as many as 14 people have been killed, with many more injured. Now, people have been filming the dramatic events on their phones and posting them on social media channels. So let me show you what we've been looking at. Now, this video begins as people start leaving the hall and something appears to have gone very wrong. And you suddenly hear gunshots and people running. It's difficult at this point to know how many people are involved in this incident, but in this video you can see many people in the hall. Now, screens begin to ring out and people can be seen shouting, "Close the door." And people then begin to fall onto the floor, hiding behind the chairs. Then gunshots continue to be heard inside the hall, and as you can see, there are scenes of panic and people trying to escape. Now, here's another video we verified. This is from outside the hall, and you can see that there's a significant part of the building on fire with smoke, plumes of smoke rising. And we've seen another video from a different angle, again showing from the outside of the building, again on fire. Now, witnesses have said that the shooting started in the foyer. We've also seen another video with 4 gunmen, which is too graphic to show you. In it, you can see people shooting with several casualties on the floor. And it's worth noting that a few weeks ago, the US Embassy in Moscow had issued a warning for people to avoid crowded places in the capital city. Now, we've also seen reports of another explosion inside the hall and that some of the gunmen have barricaded themselves inside. Now, as I said, this is a developing news story and we'll continue to verify more footage as we get it.
Merlin, grateful for your time. Thank you for explaining what we know so far. There is full coverage, of course, on the BBC News website with the latest lines as we get further details. As Merlin was telling us there, the Reuters news agency just confirming 40 now dead and more than 100 wounded. That coming to us from the Russian TASS news agency. So 40 dead after that shooting in a concert hall near Moscow. More than 100 wounded. Continuing coverage right here, but also if you want it right now on the BBC News website. But I want to return to the other major story that we're following for you this hour, special coverage of that announcement by the Princess of Wales, in which she said she was undergoing preventative treatment for cancer. Well, this comes after she'd stepped back from public life to take time to recover after undergoing abdominal surgery. Well, Catherine says that although it was thought at the time that her condition was non-cancerous, tests have found that cancer had been present. She's now in the early stages of a course of preventative chemotherapy. Here is her video statement in full.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
Very personal end to that message from Catherine, Princess of Wales, that was filmed on Wednesday but released within the last hour or so. Now, Buckingham Palace, it's made a short statement, including comments from King Charles about the Princess of Wales, saying His Majesty is so proud of Catherine for her courage in speaking as she did, that His Majesty remained in contact, the closest contact, with his beloved daughter-in-law throughout the past weeks. It goes on to say that both King Charles and Queen Camilla will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family through this difficult time. Let's take you to Windsor. Our correspondent there is Helena Wilkinson. And Helena, the family just getting used to this news, as all of we are right now, coming as a huge shock.
Yes, an enormous shock for people across the world. The indications that we had heard were that the Princess of Wales was making a good recovery following what she has this evening described as major abdominal surgery in January. But following that surgery, which was deemed a success by doctors, it had been planned surgery, tests were carried out and cancer was found. And we now know that the Princess of Wales is undertaking a course of preventative chemotherapy. It's here in Windsor, of course, that the family live, the Princess of Wales, Prince William, and their 3 young children. And they have had some time and taken some time to speak to their 3 children in the best way that they can. We know from Catherine's statement that they've been very careful in terms of how they've approached that. And they've wanted to do that privately, away from the glare of the media and the world, and have taken some time to do that. It is, of course, at the start of the Easter holidays for the couple's 3 children, and they felt now that it was the best time for them to make or put the news into the public domain about the Princess of Wales's cancer diagnosis. But it must be an incredibly difficult time, not just for the Princess of Wales herself. Anyone who receives a cancer diagnosis, it will be a huge shock. And it will take time for her to get used to that, but also for the children as well to try and understand what that means for their mother. And so they will be wanting to spend time here privately at their home in Windsor, of course, over the Easter holidays and the weeks to come. We, of course, don't know how long the chemotherapy will last for, and when we will next see the Princess of Wales carrying out public duties. That has not been made public. She wants it at the moment to be able to focus on her treatment, her recovery, and also her family in private.
And Helena, there will be a hope that by going public in this way this evening, it will draw a line under the endless speculation that we've seen in some parts of the media and certainly online.
Yes, and often at times absolutely wild speculation about the Princess of Wales's health, which has gone on for the last couple of months or so since she had that surgery at the hospital, the London clinic, in January. Some people have been speculating wildly about her health. There was, of course, that picture that was released by the Princess of Wales on Mothering Sunday with her 3 children, and what followed was her admitting to altering, editing some of that picture. It then led to even more speculation after that. It is hoped, given how serious the diagnosis is in terms of that it is a cancer diagnosis, even though Kensington Palace say that she will make a full recovery. It is a very difficult time for the family, and so yes, absolutely, it is hoped that all of that speculation will now go away and Catherine will be able to, as I say, have that treatment that she has already started, the chemotherapy and also the recovery that will follow that, to be able to do that in private.
Yes, and Helen, of course, this coming as the King himself also undergoing cancer treatment. A rare situation in which 2 senior royals are, to put it bluntly, out of action in this way whilst undergoing this treatment.
Yes, exactly. So the King also is having treatment for his cancer diagnosis. He was, of course, treated for an enlarged prostate at the same hospital where the Princess of Wales was being treated. Just to repeat that statement that we've had from the Buckingham Palace this evening from the King, which says that the King is so proud of Catherine for her courage in speaking as she did, and remains in the closest contact with his beloved daughter-in-law. That's from Buckingham Palace, and a statement from the King.
Helena, good to have you there in Windsor for us. Thank you, Helena Wilkinson, live in Windsor. Now, I just want to take you to the other story we're following for you. This is the scene, recent pictures in Moscow. You know, we've been telling you there are a significant number of deaths and injuries reported after a gun attack at a concert hall near Moscow. Reports say at least 4 people who were dressed in camouflage while they opened fire at the Crocus City Hall. There is a lot of video on social media, some of it very distressing. Now, Russia's foreign ministry has described the incident as a terror attack. Coverage continues on BBC News. So the images coming to us from Moscow right now as the foreign ministry there describes a gun attack as a terror attack. We know many ambulances, police are in attendance after at least 4 people dressed in camouflage opened fire at the Crocus City Hall. Now, a significant number of deaths. The latest report suggesting 40 have been killed in that shooting near Moscow. Also reports, you can see the fire there. It's a significant, it's a large concert hall. It's our correspondent in Moscow telling us a rock concert was due to get underway. Reports saying the roof has collapsed. Earlier reports told us that about 100 people who were trapped inside by those gunmen were able to make their way out through the basements and through the underground network there. But there are very few other details that are coming through to us right now. Now, of course, a lot of reaction from right around the world. We'll bring you up to date with the very latest with our Russia editor, Steve Rosenberg, who is in Moscow. But I also want to return to that other major story we're following for you tonight here on BBC News. You can see it there on the screen. The Princess of Wales saying she is in the early stages of treatment after cancer was found in tests. She's described it as being a huge shock and an incredibly tough couple of months. With me in the studio here is our royal correspondent, Sarah Camel. And Sarah, there are no details of the type of cancer, but Kensington Palace saying it's confident the Princess will make a full recovery.
That does seem to be the sense coming from the palace, is exactly that. As you say, there are some details, but not all details. So there's no specific detail about the particular type of cancer that was found. They're not going to be specific about any private medical information, for example, what the original operation was for on the 16th of January. One paragraph that struck me from the statement that's been released is this line about this has obviously come as a huge shock for William, and that they have been doing everything they can to process and manage this privately for the sake of the family. And as you can imagine, this has taken time. So not directly addressing all the speculation that's been going on, but I think saying very clearly there, this is why we haven't been able to come out and say anything earlier on, because we have been dealing with this in the background, and the most important people in our lives, the people who need to understand and process this, actually are the children. And that is their focus. Now that the children are away from school, they're at home, they're in that home environment. So I think this has all been about how to protect Charlotte and Louis and George, and to help them deal with this, you know, the fact that their mother is undergoing preventative chemotherapy.
Yes, interesting you say that they've not directly addressed a lot of that speculation that they've been subject to over recent weeks. Someone who has, though, is the Prime Minister, Rishi Sunak. He's criticised the scrutiny that Catherine has faced and how she has, in his words, been unfairly treated by certain sectors of the media around the world and on social media. He's now called for people to give her the privacy to focus on her treatment and be with her loving family. So that part of the statement from Downing Street tonight. And Sarah, there will be a hope, though, won't there, of course, that this draws a line under some of the worst of that speculation, and that actually, as we heard in the statement from Catherine, that the family can deal with this privately, because we have to remember they are humans. Yes. They are dealing with a huge shock to their family. And of course, for William, his wife undergoing cancer treatment, and also his father.
Exactly, and underlined by the sentiment that we've heard from the King. This was via a Buckingham Palace spokesman who said that His Majesty is so proud of Catherine for her courage in speaking as she did, that he's remained in close contact with his, in his words, beloved daughter-in-law throughout the past weeks, and that both he and the Queen will continue to offer their love and support to the whole family through this difficult time. Of course, he himself going through a difficult time.
Yes, absolutely. If people are just joining us on BBC News, you're very welcome. We're covering that story. You can see on screen the Princess of Wales undergoing cancer treatment. I just want to play you that statement from Princess Catherine in her own words. She was filmed with this statement on Wednesday. It's been released by Kensington Palace tonight. In it, she details that she's undergoing preventative treatment for cancer. Take a listen.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment, but most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them, and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
So that's the Princess of Wales with a very personal message. We were told that that was actually filmed on Wednesday by BBC Studios in Windsor. So let's speak to the University of Leeds oncologist, Professor Susan Short, who joins us now. Professor Short, thank you for being with us. And you'll have heard that statement, that video message, as all of us did. It's a very personal statement, isn't it? And one I assume that will do a lot of good by going public with something like this, difficult as it probably is for the family to do so, to remind people that young people can be just as susceptible to cancer, but if caught early, the prognosis is very good.
Yeah, absolutely. So shocking news, of course, and never easy to deal with, and not easy for the Princess of Wales for many reasons, clearly. But yes, I think it's a reminder that cancer is a common disease. It predominantly affects older people, but it does affect younger people as well. And as you say, important to recognise that the earlier it is caught, the more effectively it can be treated in nearly all circumstances. So, that's an important part of the message. And I think the Prince of Wales, was very brave to describe her story and put that message over.
And give us a sense of the process when dealing with families at such a difficult time like this. It takes a lot, of course, for the person undergoing the treatment to come to terms with, then to break that news to their closest family, but also for the royal family to have to do this in such a public way.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think it's difficult for all individuals and all families. And I think this diagnosis always has to be seen in the context not only of the patient, but of their family. Clearly, in this bit of news, it's a very specific family. But I think, as has been said, they need exactly the same time and support as anybody else would need to cope with this.
Kensington Palace has described this as a recovery pathway. What do they mean by that medically?
So it's a generic term, but clearly the princess has gone through major surgery already, and that would on its own need a significant recovery period. But then to go into additional chemotherapy obviously means that journey to full recovery is going to be longer, because that gives her something else that her body's got to cope with, and she will need more time and energy to get over.
The Kensington Palace also very keen, and we heard it in that statement from Catherine, that this is preventative chemotherapy. What is that?
Yes, so there are several circumstances, and obviously we don't know, we can't speculate really on these exact circumstances, where we know that if given chemotherapy after surgery, it can improve the outlook, because there may be a chance of a small number of cancer cells left behind, which the chemotherapy can cope with. And so reduce the risk of the cancer coming back even after very effective surgery.
Yes, and just talk to me about the prognosis when it is caught so early, as we are led to believe it is in this case, and in someone so young, someone otherwise fit and healthy.
Yeah. So obviously general fitness is always helpful in this circumstance. It's helpful in terms of getting over treatment, surgery, and chemotherapy. And the fact that, as we've heard, this was an early cancer diagnosis also very significantly impacts on prognosis.
Really good to have you with us. Thank you for your insight into that. Grateful for your time and for being with us this evening. Thank you. So let's bring in our royal correspondent, Sarah Campbell, who's with me. And Sarah, that's the key message in this statement, isn't it? And you really do get a sense of the optimism, that the prognosis is good. And in Catherine's words, she says she needs to just simply reassure the children, George, Charlotte and Louis, that I'm going to be okay.
Yeah, exactly. She talks about the fact because people will be, you know, wanting to see her, wanting her to get back to work. She says, my work has always brought me a deep sense of joy and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I am going to focus on making a full recovery. And certainly the sense is that the Princess is in good spirits, that she's focused on her recovery. She will obviously have a very good medical team around her, providing all that she needs. And, you know, she is in the place that she needs to be, which is at home with the children, with her husband, receiving the treatment that she needs.
Yes, and one would hope now the privacy to be able to tackle that as a family. Sarah, for now, thank you. Stay with us. Sarah Campbell there, our royal correspondent. The other story, though, that we are following for you on BBC News tonight is the reports of deaths and injuries after a significant attack, a gun attack, at a concert hall near Moscow. I just want to take you to the live images, and you can see that huge police and ambulance presence there outside the Crocus City Hall. Now, Russia's foreign ministry has described the incident as a terrorist attack. Footage that we've seen on social media showing gunmen inside the hall. State media are still reporting that some remain inside. We understand that 4 people dressed in camouflage opened fire ahead of what was due to be a rock concert. Now, this venue is just on the outskirts of Moscow. We were hearing from our correspondents a little earlier, describing the location. So on the periphery of the city, but nonetheless a significant, large venue there. So that is the scene live. Let me at this stage bring in, if I can, Konstantin Vonnegut, who's a columnist at Deutsche Welle and a contributor to Russia's independent TV channel. Konstantin, good to have you with us. What are you able to tell us about what is unfolding right now in Moscow?
Well, it seems that the count is rising of those who were killed in this incident, and now the reports of 40 people that died, and there's an unclear number of injured, but it's supposed to be much higher. As well, what we see is that this building, and I've been to it quite a few times in my life, it is a very big concert venue with several thousand seats and a shopping center. So it is all on fire, and it seems the roof has caved in. What we've also seen is unverified video of a person being arrested or detained near the site. And of course, what we see now is basically like 2 waves on social media and official channels. On the official Kremlin sort of media, you have calls for vengeance against the so far unnamed terrorists. On the independent Russian media, which is now mostly based in exile outside of Russia, there are comparisons to the infamous 1999 uninvestigated apartment building bombings in Moscow, which led also to dozens of deaths and which propelled Vladimir Putin as a kind of strong leader that can win the war in Chechnya at the time. So you have these 2 narratives, and just as we speak, Ben, I see a post by on the sort of Telegram account of Dmitry Medvedev, the former president, who is already saying that if we learn that these terrorists are terrorists from Kiev, we should deal with them accordingly, and all of them should be eliminated, including the officials that sanctioned this, or rather which perpetrated this. So you see the atmosphere is basically becoming very heated, I would say.
Yes, and at this stage we have no indication that this event is anywhere near over. There are conflicting reports about whether gunmen remain inside, whether there are any people still trapped in that building. Earlier reports suggesting that the fire had taken hold and the roof had collapsed. There will be huge questions tonight, though, won't there, about how this was able to happen in Moscow?
Yes, I think that this is a big question, and it's interesting that if you look at the Russian social media, which actually exploded. It's very difficult sometimes to reach some accounts because the servers overloaded. And this is one of the things that you hear from both the pro-government and anti-government bloggers and influencers, that no matter what they think about it, it's really, if it is indeed a bona fide terror attack, then how did the government let people penetrate this building with its security? And there are lots of cameras there. I've been there. So there are questions, of course, and I'm afraid with Russia's past of the last quarter of a century, there are lots of questions that will be asked of the Kremlin.
Konstantin, thank you for being with us. I know this story is changing all the time, but grateful for your insight right now. Thank you. So as we said, there's a lot of video circulating online about what has gone on inside that concert venue. We're keeping a very close eye on it because some of it is pretty distressing. This video we have looked at, it does show gunmen firing inside the venue. Just take a look. Just get a sense there about what may be unfolding inside that concert venue tonight. Russian news agencies saying that 3 people dressed in camouflage opened fire at that venue. This video supports those reports, of course. Several people there, all armed, inside the hall. Russian media reports about 6,000 people were in attendance at that concert. Certainly how many tickets had been sold. They were there for the famous Russian rock band Picnic. The authorities there describing this as a terror attack. Continuing coverage of events in Moscow will continue for viewers watching around the world with my colleague Lewis Vaughan-Jones. Stay with us here on BBC News. So that is the scene in Moscow. We will keep you up to date with any events on that. But here in the UK, another story, of course, we are following for you tonight is news that the Princess of Wales says she is in the early stages of treatment after a cancer diagnosis. She's described it as a huge shock, and she says it's been an incredibly tough couple of months. She's issued a video message. It was recorded on Wednesday but released to the media this evening. Just take a listen.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
Catherine, Princess of Wales, ending that video message with a very personal statement. Now, we understand that was filmed on Wednesday by BBC Studios. Our royal correspondent Sarah Campbell is with me. And Sarah, what do we know about how this video was filmed?
Yeah, I think it's just useful in these days when there's so much speculation and so much mistrust about anything that you see, isn't there? It's really useful, and I think BBC Studios, that was in mind when they released a statement about how this came about. We should say that BBC Studios is the production arm of the BBC, so it's separate to BBC News. But basically, what this statement says is that it was a statement filmed by BBC Studios from the Princess of Wales at Windsor this week. They said they also add, "We'd like to wish Her Royal Highness a speedy recovery," but just making absolutely clear that they made no edits to the recording and had no editorial involvement in the message. But it was their production services that were used to put the statement together. So just making it absolutely clear, no edits. BBC not involved in the editorial content, but that was how it came about, filmed in Windsor earlier this week. We understand Wednesday.
And we've certainly seen, haven't we, in recent years, the royal family using social media to be able to just talk directly to people that may follow them or may be interested in them. And that's quite a shift in how it's been done in years gone by.
Yes, and obviously there was the Mother's Day photograph that was issued in the last couple of weeks, which again added fuel to the fire of social media, because it subsequently turned out that after various picture agencies had pulled the photograph, it turned out that the Princess of Wales said that she was like many people, experimented with photo editing, and that caused a huge furore, didn't it? And sort of added to this frenzy online, this social media frenzy. So yeah, that was a direct photograph that came to them. But you're absolutely right that actually they have been filming a lot of their sort of own, pictures of certainly of the family, and the intent is understandable in that they are trying to keep their family and trying to bring the children up in as normal a way as possible, if you like, and not having them to stand in front of banks of photographers. So one understands the concept behind that. But this particular video, not filmed by Kensington Palace, filmed by BBC Studios, which, as I say, is not linked to BBC News, but it is part of the BBC umbrella, and that was filmed on Wednesday of last week.
Well, interesting enough, talking of social media, James Middleton, who is the brother, of course, of Princess Catherine, he's posted this message of support on his Instagram. In it, he says, "Over the years, we've climbed many mountains together." He says, "As a family, we will climb this one with you too." And Sarah, I mean, it's a touching message. It's a touching photo. And again, it serves to underline that these are real people. They are humans. They are families going through a very difficult time.
Yeah, and I have to say that we've spoken a lot, haven't we, in the last couple of hours about the royal family. But of course, the Middleton family is a hugely important part of Catherine and William's life, and has been for many, many years. So she has a younger sister, Pippa, James, younger brother, and of course Catherine, her parents, Carol and Michael Middleton. They are an incredibly close family. They live not too far away from Windsor, so they, of course, will have been a huge support to her as well.
Sarah, stay with us. Thank you. Let's talk now to the royal commentator, Gareth Russell, who joins us. Gareth, good evening to you. Thank you for being with us. Coming as a huge shock, what do you make of the timing of the release of this video statement tonight?
I think it's as close to the margin, if you like, of Easter that the princess had originally requested. I think certainly they are aware, Ben, who couldn't be, of this avalanche of speculation that has surrounded it. I think there probably was a reason behind releasing it at 6 o'clock, to make sure it did get covered, but it didn't become the main story of the week, although that perhaps seems somewhat futile, I hope. But certainly I think it was the palace attempting, on one hand, to engage with and counteract the speculation about the Princess of Wales's health, but also not being seen to deviate too much from their own timetable, which would indicate that they were giving in too much to that speculation as well. So I think the timing suggests a tightrope of balance from Kensington Palace.
Yes, and it is the timing, of course, coming this evening, just within the last couple of hours, that we've had that video, although, as we've just been discussing, filmed on Wednesday. But if you read that statement, you hear that statement from the princess, it is very upbeat in its tone. She talks about discussing with the children, about reassuring them that I'm going to be okay. It is a very upbeat message that she wants to send to the world, isn't it?
It is. I think that's absolutely right, Ben. I think that's deliberate. It is also quite a graceful and gracious message. She has not engaged specifically with the speculation and the less upbeat tone that has surrounded her illness. So I think that's probably intentional. Also, bear in mind, if you are someone with the prominent position and the fame that the Princess of Wales has, if you are talking about something like cancer, you don't want to be giving any suggestion that there is a finality to it. And she's very conscious, as she makes clear at the end of the video, that she is thinking of everyone else who is going through with cancer. But I do think the tone of that video, Ben, is going to stand in stark contrast, because I think in the next few weeks, maybe the next few days, we're going to see an awful lot of, say, American chat show hosts or daytime chat show panelists will be asked some very difficult questions about the speculation they've indulged in on air about her before this statement came out. So I think that tone is deliberate, but it's also, I think, an intentional rebuttal to some of the things that have been said about her. And it's certainly a contrast.
Do you think this statement tonight is enough to put an end to that speculation and rumour?
No, because there's nothing that would be enough to do that. And what I mean by that, I think, is you have to acknowledge there is an element of insanity to some of the speculation, and it's self-fueling and self-fulfilling, and it's become a pastime for some people. And ultimately, the people who will want to indulge in this and continue to push this forward will not be swayed or put off by any amount of information that they're given. I also think some of the speculation has gone so far, and it has been so elaborately choreographed and discussed and dissected on social media, that an awful lot of people will have a problem admitting just how wrong they were. So no, I don't think it will stop the speculation. I think, however, for many people, but I think for the majority, it will certainly give pause about just how quickly a lot of those conspiracy theories were mainstreamed and were not subjected to really proper analysis until the princess's statement.
Yes, and we know the princess last seen in an official capacity on Christmas Day. Since then, as this statement makes clear, she's been recovering from that surgery. What the statement is also clear on is that we shouldn't expect constant updates about when she might resume public life.
Yes, which is also what they said at the start, and that lasted for a very brief amount of time. But I do think knowing that the princess, unfortunately, is dealing with cancer will stop some of the pressure for more statements and more announcements and more information, but I do not think it will halt it entirely. So I think the palace were trying to say, we will keep you informed, but we will not keep you informed as regularly as you like. And you made the point earlier, Ben, about them engaging with social media. Part of the difficulty for the modern monarchy, all modern monarchies, in fact, indeed most institutions, is that social media is not mainstream media. It is a 24/7 beast that is always hungry. So if you don't feed it, it feeds itself. And so I think the palace was trying to say, we're not going to be playing this game. You will get information, but it simply will not be with the rapidity that social media might expect or demand.
Yes, really good to have you with us tonight. Thank you for joining us. That's Gareth Russell there, royal commentator. Thank you. Our royal correspondent Sarah Campbell is still with me. And Sarah, it's interesting hearing there from Gareth about the way that the monarchy has had to adapt to social media, to different forms of disseminating information. The royal family has been embracing social media, been using it to put out video messages and photos and speak to people directly, but also keenly aware of that being a place where speculation can run rampant.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a real double-edged sword, isn't it? During the pandemic, when of course everyone was not allowed to mix, and the royal family and the Queen, didn't she famously used to say, the late Queen, it had to be seen to be believed. Mm-hmm. And she managed to do that by putting stuff out there on social media, recording things, putting it out there. And the King, to a certain extent, has been doing the very same thing, because since his cancer diagnosis and starting treatment last month, he has still felt present in a way, because the palace have let us know that audiences have been happening. There have been photographs that have been issued. So there has been the sense that he is managing to carry on his work, even if he's not appearing in public-facing duties. So there is that sign. Social media is a very useful, direct way for the royal family to communicate directly with people. But, as you say, there is this downside, and we've seen that downside over the last 6 weeks or so, where there has been some horrendous stuff online. And I can't imagine what it must be like to be reading some of that. I'm sure the Prince and Princess of Wales don't spend their day reading social media, but they will certainly be aware of it. And no matter how much they try and protect their children, it's quite invasive, and no doubt their children will have been aware of some of what is being seen online and read online in the playground, etc. So yeah, difficult. Useful, it's a useful tool, but it has been quite damaging and upsetting. And will this draw a line under it? Well, you heard Gareth say that probably not totally, but I think for the majority of people, you would hope, would see that statement. It will answer a lot of questions that people may have been having, and hopefully people can move on and leave Catherine to, as I say, time, space, privacy. That's what she wants.
Yeah. The only thing I'm going to ask you to speculate on tonight is, do you sense that there will be this massive sigh of relief in Buckingham Palace, in Kensington Palace tonight, that the news is out, and maybe, just maybe, some of that speculation will start to calm down?
I cannot talk for what's happening in the palace, but clearly this diagnosis has been known for some time. We know that because she's been having this preventative chemotherapy since the end of February, but clearly the decision was taken that for the sake of the children, they did not want this news out there publicly until they had finished school, and that happened today. And so yes, I'm sure it has been quite difficult to be reading, to be in a sense wanting to give this is why we are doing what we are doing, but being prevented to do that. So I'm sure there is a sense of let's get it out there, but now hoping that all that speculation can stop. And we will see whether that happens. I've just been having a little look online at the moment, and there is still some speculation going on, I hate to say.
Hello, I'm Ben Thompson. We're bringing you special coverage of an announcement tonight by the Princess of Wales, in which she said she was undergoing preventative treatment for cancer. It comes after she'd stepped back from public life to take time to recover after undergoing abdominal surgery. Catherine says that although it was thought at the time that her condition was non-cancerous, tests have found cancer had been present, and she's in the early stages of a course of preventative chemotherapy. Here is her video statement in full.
I wanted to take this opportunity to say thank you personally for all the wonderful messages of support and for your understanding whilst I've been recovering from surgery. It has been an incredibly tough couple of months for our entire family, but I've had a fantastic medical team who have taken great care of me, for which I'm so grateful. In January, I underwent major abdominal surgery in London, and at the time, it was thought that my condition was non-cancerous. The surgery was successful. However, tests after the operation found cancer had been present. My medical team therefore advised that I should undergo a course of preventative chemotherapy, and I'm now in the early stages of that treatment. This, of course, came as a huge shock, and William and I have been doing everything we can to process and manage this privately for the sake of our young family. As you can imagine, this has taken time. It has taken me time to recover from major surgery in order to start my treatment. But most importantly, it has taken us time to explain everything to George, Charlotte and Louis in a way that's appropriate for them and to reassure them that I'm going to be okay. As I've said to them, I am well and getting stronger every day by focusing on the things that will help me heal in my mind, body and spirits. Having William by my side is a great source of comfort and reassurance too, as is the love, support and kindness that has been shown by so many of you. It means so much to us both. We hope that you'll understand that as a family, we now need some time, space and privacy while I complete my treatment. My work has always brought me a deep sense of joy, and I look forward to being back when I'm able. But for now, I must focus on making a full recovery. At this time, I'm also thinking of all those whose lives have been affected by cancer. For everyone facing this disease, in whatever form, please do not lose faith or hope. You are not alone.
The Princess of Wales there with a personal message. We're told that was filmed on Wednesday in Windsor. While our royal correspondent Daniela Relf has the latest.
This was the last official footage of the Princess of Wales with the royal family on Christmas Day at Sandringham, with her 3 children who she is now so keen to protect after going public with news of her diagnosis. Back in December, all seemed well as she spoke to the crowd.
Thank you so much. That's very sweet of you to come and say hello to us. Yeah, well, very happy Christmas.
But 3 weeks later, she was admitted to hospital for major abdominal surgery. It was in her post-operative tests that signs of cancer were found. The clamour for information about the princess's condition has been intense. This footage, published earlier this week, filmed by a member of the public, showed her shopping in Windsor with her husband last weekend. And this photo, released on Mother's Day, to ease some of the public speculation, did the opposite, with the princess issuing a statement to say she had made some edits to the image. A turning point appears to have been this Thanksgiving service in Windsor for King Constantine of Greece at the end of February. The rest of the royal family were there, but the Prince of Wales pulled out that morning, very suddenly, due to a personal matter. We now know this was around the time the princess was diagnosed and began her treatment. It has been an incredibly turbulent time for the family. The couple's priority has been to protect their children and ensure they have time to explain what's wrong to Prince George, Princess Charlotte and Prince Louis. They now hope the speculation and rumours will stop as they spend time privately as a family for the Easter holiday. The princess won't be back to a full programme of public duty for some time. We may see her occasionally, but only when her medical team have